Steve is an incredible, demanding taskmaster, but he's brilliant, and his vision was just worth joining. I mean, he wanted to do what I wanted to do, and he had his side of the horsepower to make the business engine go and let me work on tooling up and refining the production of the carved F mandolin and the A models. So we went into production right away. We staffed up with a few people, trained them up, and within a little over a year, we had exceeded our sales by almost double. We could produce instruments quicker than we had a chance to sell them. And back then, the only opportunity we had for finding new dealers was the NAMM show, and heck, it was way the heck off. So what we thought was a good idea was that we would offer to build as an OEM production facility F-style mandolins for Gibson, because the only point that we found difficult was that our instruments said flat iron rather than Gibson. The instruments were superb, they were highly sought after, but it would be just that much nicer if we could sell that many more. The business would work better. We thought the plan was infallible. What we didn't consider was that Gibson had been bought the day before we offered to sell them mandolins. And the guy that bought the company was, we wasn't so impressed actually that we could claim that we built a better instrument than he. And so he decided that he wouldn't buy what we offered. In fact, he would just do everything he could to keep us from being successful. And Gibson was a bigger horse than ours, and so he sort of won the race for a while. And then Stan J. of Mandolin Brothers suggested to him that rather than just bury us in the prairie, that he might buy us and let us join the Gibson family, since we were building replica instruments of the instruments built in the 20s and 30s. And his business, Stan's, wouldn't suffer at all, and Gibson's would grow, and Flatiron would prosper as well. And so Henry approached Steve with the intent of our joining forces that we would be bought out. And after some discussion and decision by all the members on the team, Steve decided to go ahead and accept the offer. And we began, or became, part of Gibson's global growth. The first people to join that were Steinberger and then Flatiron. We were considered to be relocated to Nashville with the rest of the production, and Steve and I offered to help load the trucks, but we both lived in Montana because it was Montana, and felt that if we didn't work there, that we would not be as effective as we could be there. And after some discussion, decision was made by Henry that instead of relocating us, maybe we could expand. And he gave Steve the opportunity to build acoustic guitar factory. And that was in summer of '88. We broke ground in, I believe, November '88. Moved into the facility the end of March of '89. I completed the first guitar for Henry from the factory in June 1989, and that makes this our 20th anniversary. We've been in the factory for 20 years. We started production then at 5 guitars a day. Well, let's say that was the goal, and now the factory produces, as many, we have built as many as 60 plus guitars a day, depending on the model mix. Our guitars are handmade. They're augmented by some serious technology in the form of CNC, and we have a CAD center where we do all of our developing of all the tools and fixtures that we make. In the beginning, when we moved into that factory, we had what was left over from the Nashville factory and a few pieces from the Kalamazoo factory that had been brought down from Kalamazoo, placed in the facility in Nashville. And then once Henry bought the company, he recognized the need. I mean, this is a brilliant choice on his part to clear the floor of anything that didn't build Les Pauls and learn how to build the guitar that is our bread and bones guitar. And so the acoustic guitar production stopped for a period of time, and he focused on those first early years in just refining that factory and turning it into the place that could rebirth the quality of Gibson that had eroded over some period of time. Once the factory in Montana started, and with his permission and encouragement and support, we started building the guitars that we offer today. We continually work toward that goal of improving the product. But we started those early days with particle board fixtures, plywood fixtures, thin aluminum fixtures, and Steve was able to buy $3,500 worth of tennis racking making machinery. You know, he'd always had this A-shaped mandolin in mind, and I think he just went overboard. But he bought all this great machinery that we were able to dismantle and recover all the materials from, and there was lots of logic control air devices for controlling operations, and we cataloged and put all that stuff into use in guitar manufacturing. There were air cylinders and clamps and just things that we could use. We took all the scrap aluminum, we melted it in the backyard in great big kettles with 2 weed burners on it to melt it down, and poured it into sand cast molds so we could cast slugs that we could machine our guitar bending rib molds. And we stacked them up and sanded them into a shape. I mean, in the beginning, the things that we did in that factory seem impossible to redo today, but we had so much support and so much vision to go forward that there wasn't an obstacle that we couldn't do, and we didn't have to work with nothing. We just had the stuff in a different state than somebody else might have started with. So we recovered what we could and we moved forward, and we built the tools and fixtures, and we continue to design and build on site everything we need to build guitars. The history of that factory is so exciting. The people that we've had an opportunity to work with is really the story of our success.